Hello everyone. Welcome back to the class 7th History, Chapter 2, New Kings and Kingdoms. Children, let us memorize the topics what we have learnt in previous class of this lesson, and we have already understand about how new dynasties were came to the power. Among the new dynasties, we have discussed about the Pratiharas, the Palas, the Rashtrakutas, the Rajputs, and the tripartite struggle. Let us in today class. Let us in today class we are going to study about the Turkey's invasion and the Cholas. The Turkey's invasion and the Cholas. The Turkey's invasion. The first Turkish invasion invaded by Muhammad of Ghazni. The period of Muhammad Ghazni 997 AD to 1030 AD. Muhammad of Ghazni was the first independent ruler of Turkey dynasty of Ghazni from Afghanistan. He was the first Muslim conqueror to rule Afghanistan with an empire ranging from what in the present day would be northeast of Iran. He ruled 997 to 1030 AD. He extended his control over parts of Central Asia, Iran, and northern parts of subcontinent. In order to bring wealth and build a large army, he raided the Indian subcontinent 17 times between 1000 to 1027 AD. So this is very important point, children. He raided India how many times? 17 times. Remember this. He mainly attacked the temple towns in northern India. This was because he had heard that there was a lot of gold and jewelry kept in the big temples of India. Destroying temples had another advantage. He obtained religious merit. Religious merit means religious prestige by destroying images. That's why he is called idol breaker. So this is very important. He is popularly known as idol breaker because he obtained religious merit by destroying the images or idols in the temples. That's why he is known as idol breaker. He destroyed the temples and took away gold and jewelry. Some of his famous campaigns were against Nagarkot, Thaneshwar, Mathura, Kanauj. His 15th invasion against the temple of Somnath, Gujarat was the most destructive one. Children, this is very important invasion by Muhammad of Ghazni. Which one? The Somnath temple in Gujarat. He invaded this temple, and this is very destructive one because he in this temple he destroyed the inside the whatever the idols are destroyed. That's why it is most destructive one invasions. And he died in 1030 AD, and the people of northern India felt relieved. Muhammad was very interested to know about India and the condition of its people. So in one of his campaigns, Muhammad was accompanied by a great Persian scholar, Al-Biruni. Al-Biruni lived for many years in India, learned Sanskrit and wrote excellent book on India named Kitab-ul-Hind. Kitab-ul-Hind written by Al-Biruni, which save a source of history. Children, this is a Somnath temple at Gujarat. This is invaded by Muhammad of Ghazni. This is very important temple and very beautiful temple. Next Turkey invader, Muhammad Ghori. Muhammad Ghori was also the ruler of the small kingdom in Afghanistan. He invaded India not just to plunder its wealth, but also to establish Islam rule over India. Children, remember this. If we compare between two invaders, Muhammad Ghazni and Muhammad Ghori, we can see the lot of differences between the invaders, because the intention of Muhammad Ghazni is different. Muhammad Ghazni wanted to only attack the India and plunder the wealth. That is his intention. But Muhammad Ghori, he wanted to attack the India and also spread the Islam in India. That is his intention. That's why the lot of differences we can see in between the invaders. This is very important. And Prithviraj Chauhan was a contemporary of Ghori. It means during the same period, Prithviraj Chauhan, already in previous class I explained you Prithviraj between the battle, that is Tarain battle between that was held in between the Prithviraj Chauhan and Muhammad Ghori. In 1191 AD, Prithviraj Chauhan defeated Muhammad Ghori in the first battle of Tarain. In this battle, Ghori had to flee from the battlefield with bleeding wounds. But the very next year, in 1192 AD, he defeated Prithviraj in the second battle of Tarain. So there are two Tarain battles are there. The first one that was held in the year 1191. Second one that was held in the year 1192 AD. So remember this. Prithviraj was captured and ultimately executed. This defeat is regarded as turning point in Indian history because it is resulted in the foundation of Turkey's rule in India. Though this is the cause of Turkey's rule in India. In 1206 AD, Muhammad Ghori was murdered. His territory in northern India was left under control of his general Qutbuddin Aibak. Qutbuddin Aibak he was the slave of Muhammad Ghori. After the death of the Muhammad Ghori, he was the responsible to looking all his territory. So next topic, administration in the kingdom of Muhammad Ghori. The kings had supreme power. They adopted great titles of Maharaja Di Raja, Tribhuvana Chakravartin. It means Lord of the Three Worlds. Children, here the king had uppermost power in the kingdom, and kings also shared power with their samantas as well as with association of peasants, traders and brahmans. They are in order to distribute the work in the all the main ministers. High posts in the army were filled by the people from influential family and the close relatives of the king. The position were often hereditary. In order to appoint the soldier, they are following in this way. It means they are giving more preference to only the close relative families, not to all. The revenue collection. The taxation system of the Muhammad Ghori not good and neither bad because it was trouble for common people. The producers like peasants, artisans, cattle keepers had to surrender some part of their produce as tax. Sometimes a part of produce was claimed as rent because land was the property of lord. Revenue was also collected from traders. There was expansion of trade across the seas and frontiers of the kingdom, thus revenue collection was broad-based. Generally, people from the influential families and close relatives of the king collected revenue for the king. These positions were often hereditary. Uses of revenue. In this kingdom, resources were used for the following purpose: the finance, the king's establishment, to construct temples and forts, the fight wars. Remarkably, kings expected that the wars would lead to the acquisition of wealth in the form of gold, jewelry, lands, as well as the trade routes. Next, Prashasti. The meaning of Prashasti means prize. The Prashastis were often written in the prize of king. They mentioned They mentioned the king as valiant, victorious warriors, etc. They described the king's achievements. These prasastis were composed by learned Brahmins. Children, we can see the many examples of other prasastis. Those are Nasik prasasti during the Satavahana period and Prayaga prasasti during the Gupta period. Next, critical writings. In contrast to the writers of prasastis, a 12th century author named Kallana was often critical about rulers and their policies. He composed a long Sanskrit poem that contains a history of the kings of Kashmir. He took the help of variety of sources such as inscription, documents, earlier stories, eyewitness accounts, etc. to complete his work. Here, Rajatarangini that contains a history of the king's Kashmir, written by the Kallana. The poet name is Kallana. Next, land grants. Kings often rewarded Brahmins by grant of land. The grants were recorded on copper plates. These recorded plates were given to those who received the land. A person who received the land could collect taxes from it. Land grant means land given to Brahmana, and it was tax-free land in the form of whole village donated to Brahmins. In this way, we can see the rule of the Turkeys. Next topic is the Cholas. Let us study about the Cholas. Cholas dynasty was the most prominent of the South Indian plains. They were earlier subordinate to the Pallavas kings of Kanchipuram. Vijayalaya Chola was the founder of this dynasty, which ruled from 846 to 871 AD. He built the town of Tanjavur and made it of his capital, and also he also built temple Nishumba Sudhini. Rajaraja I and Rajendra Chola were famous kings of this dynasty. Rajaraja first reorganized administration of the empire. Rajendra first raided Ganga Valley, Sri Lanka, and the countries of Southeast Asia, and he developed a powerful navy for these expedition. Expedition means campaigns. Children, look at the Chola kingdom on India map. In the south part of India, we can see the Chola kingdom, and around the Chola kingdom we can see the some small kingdom also. Kanchi ruled in Pallavas, and Kadambas, Chalukyas. We can see the another contemporary kingdoms we can see during the same period. This is the Chola kingdom. The next topic is art and architecture of Chola kingdom. The Cholas made great contribution to art and architecture. They placed the temples in an enclosed courtyard. The temples also had huge gateways called Gopuram. As Gopuram. Remember this. The image of the deity was placed inside the sanctum or sanctorum. The best examples of these temples are at Tanjavur and Gangaikonda Cholapuram. They were built by Rajaraja and Rajendra Chola. They are architectural marvels. Children, we can see the temple at Gangaikonda Cholapura built by Rajendra Chola. This is a very beautiful temple at Gangaikonda Cholapura built by Rajendra Chola. Look at the picture of temple. And around the Chola temples grew settlements of craftsmen and traders. An image of Nataraja made in bronze under the Chola dynasty in the 10th century AD has been found. It continues to be reproduced in metal, stone, and other materials even today. The Chola Nataraja is often said to be the supreme statement of Hindu art. The temples were cultural centers and the centers of the craft production. Children, you can see the picture of this Nataraja, the bronze image of the Nataraja belonging to the Chola period. This is a picture of the bronze image of Nataraja. This is very beautiful and very important idol. This is constructed by the Cholas. In this way, we can say that Cholas art and architecture was very systematic and very skilled. Now, next topic, agriculture of Chola kingdom. The Cholas had become powerful on account of trade and agriculture's prosperity. They used their money for initiating agriculture reforms. These reforms helped in building a strong agrarian landscape, adorning their economy. Notice on the map of Chola kingdom how river Kaveri branches off into several small channels before emptying into the Bay of Bengal. These channels renewed the soils of vast flood plains year after the year. The fertile soils were responsible for agriculture's prosperity of the region. Besides rice, many other crops were also cultivated. The existence of large numbers large numbers in tanks of this period also point towards agriculture prosperity. The agriculture reforms spread far and wide, especially from the 5th and 6th century AD onwards. A variety of methods to irrigate the fields were put to practice. These included canals in the delta region, wells in some areas, and tanks in others. In this way, they were given to more concentrate for agriculture. Next topic, administration of Chola kingdom. The Cholas ruler established a highly efficient system of administration. The Chola empire was divided into administration as mandalams or provinces, and again mandalam is further divided into kurum or quatrams, and kurum again further divided into district or nadu or valanadus, and districts are further divided into oras or villages. So this is the system of administration by Cholas. The main feature of Cholas administration were centralized administration. The villages were grouped into several types like Brahmana Devas, it means Brahmin villages, Vellalas, it means farmers villages, Tanur, this means those who did some commendable work, and Devadana, that means land gifted to temples. So in this way we can see the villages is divided several types. And also a village was an area that had wetlands, dry lands, or means cultivators, village site, houses, house garden, mandram. Mandram means meeting place, wastelands for grazing cattle. It means waste wasteland for grazing cattle, tanks, cow pens, hedges, forest lands, barren lands, brackish lands, streams, channels, rivers, arable land near river. Arable land means to cultivable land. suitable for cultivation land, that is called arable land for near rivers, pits of water and trees. So in this type they are they are divided with village lands separately. The assembly of the Brahmins was known as the Sabha. This is very important. Remember this. The assembly of the Brahmins was known as Sabha. It was very powerful institution. It looked after the land gifted to Brahmins. The assemblies were well organized and functioned efficiently. The main feature of the organization of the Sabha were the following. First one, committees. There were separate committees to look after each different aspect of land gifted to Brahmins. One of the committees looked after irrigation works, another after gardens, still another after temples, and so on. Second one, membership. The names of eligible members written on palm leaves were put in an earthen pot. Earthen pot means soil pot. A boy was asked to take out a specific number for each committee. In this way, the committees were constituted. So, in this way, we can see the administration of the Chola kingdom. They were arranged administration very systematically and in the good manner. So, children, now this lesson completed. Let us meet again with another lesson in next video. Thank you.